If you thought the Westminster witch hunt to depose a sitting Prime Minister elected in a landslide majority less than 3 years ago was dirty, you ain't seen nothing yet. Already, the Tory leadership contest to replace Boris Johnson has been awash with dirty tricks, damning dossiers and dodgy claims. My concern is that in the rush to force a democratically elected PM out of number 10 as soon as humanly possible, all of this is moving just too damn fast. Just in case anyone actually remembers all Boris has achieved and his enduring popularity with most folk outside the MSM, the political establishment and the left wing. Of course, there's a reason for that. The faster Tory MPs have to choose, the more chance there is of two candidates being selected who are acceptable to the grandees and the blob rather than the people. Hence, the wave of commentary on the BBC around the inevitability of Boris' assassin, the big state, high-tax former Chancellor Rishi Sunak, making the final two.
At this stage, it's almost certain Rishi Sunak ends in the final two. And then the question is, who fills that other slot?
It already feels in a way like Rishi Sunak v the rest in some senses. A lot of the others promising tax cuts and so on, are him saying, hang on a minute, let's not believe in fairy tales.
They're also trying to convince us how sensible it would be for the Tories to turn to the anti-Boris, charisma-free Jeremy Hunt, the pro-Chinese zero-COVID strategy and pro-mandatory flu vaccination authoritarian. The strategy for the right of the party is to be as divided as ever. That's what they want, as they choose between a host of potentially brilliant prime ministers in Priti Patel, Suella Braverman, Penny Mordaunt, Liz Truss, Kemi Badenoch, or maybe even Jacob Rees-Mogg and Nadine Dorries, who we'll hear from in that explosive interview later in the show. Because once this race for PM is in the hands of the brilliant and loyal Tory members, I have no doubt the right decision will be made. But if the only choice is between, say, Hunt or Sunak, then there's no real opportunity. After all, both say there will be no income tax cuts if they take office, a position that I believe will push the Tory party towards New Labour and end up being electoral suicide at the ballot box.
Let me tell you a story. I got into politics because I want everyone in this country to have those same opportunities, to be able to give their children a better future.
I have friends who are aristocrats, I have friends who are upper class, I have friends who are working class, but I'm not working class.
Yeah, is this all together? Yeah, all together. Can you scan them for me? Yeah. Oh, you want those? Yeah.
Lockdown, would you ever lock the country down again?
Not for a COVID-like virus, because we have vaccines, and that means you don't need to.
We should be aiming for zero infection and elimination of the disease. Those are the countries that have overwhelmingly been the most successful in tackling coronavirus.
Can we get everything else? Yeah, sure. Oh my goodness me, you're right. There we are, we did a terrible moment there. Health and safety, are you okay?
Our future Prime Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, according to the BBC. But a 420-word dossier about Sunak's failures have now been published by the Daily Telegraph after circulating on Tory MP WhatsApp groups. And I want to share it with you, at least in part, because it reads, Rishi Sunak is the Chancellor of the Exchequer who proudly announced on Twitter his commitment to big state spending of £150 billion and the largest increase in department spending this century, broke a solemn Conservative Party manifesto promise not to raise taxes by increasing national insurance, raised corporation tax by 30%, failed to deliver on the Brexit dividend to abolish 5% VAT on fuel, refuses to support calls for tax cuts on the private sector, as he now states fairy tales on the grounds they would drive inflation, yet has caved in to huge pay rises to the public sector. Star Daily Telegraph columnist Alison Pearson, a highly influential voice among the Tory grassroots, endorsed Penny Mordaunt today. And as she did, she wrote this: honestly, I want to scream and dash my head against the nearest brick wall when I hear that Tory grandees are backing Rishi Sunak. Have they got a death wish? What party, in the midst of the worst fall in living standards for 40 years, would elect a multi-millionaire ex-banker as its leader? How deplorably tone-deaf. If we do that, we will deserve the kicking we will surely get. And an ally for Liz Truss told the Daily Mail today, Rishi has completely effed up our economic strategy Where has this idea come from that tax cuts would be inflationary, but putting £37 billion into giveaways isn't? So it wasn't hard to understand what and who the Foreign Secretary was referring to when she said in her launch column today for the Daily Telegraph, "I will fight the election as a Conservative and govern as a Conservative." The Trust platform, by the way, is to unite the red and blue wall by reversing the national insurance increase that came in during April and by slashing corporation tax. Meanwhile, rumours flying that Michael Gove's endorsement of Kemi Badenoch is not genuine but simply an attempt to split the right of the party to help Sunak come through the middle. Now, we know that Gove used these tactics to destroy the candidacy of Boris in 2016, which damned the country to 3 years of a rudderless Theresa May premiership. So the next 2 weeks, well, look, let's just be honest about it, they are incredibly important. The MPs are making the decisions. That's why it's going to get so dirty. But they will listen to you. So this is the time for you to make your voice heard about who you want to replace Boris. Even if you're like me and still feel furious and despondent about the toppling of the PM.